week, and you're gearing up to wrap up June on a really good note as we prepare and get ready for the 4th of July in July, one of the most fun times of the year to be in the cash physical therapy game, where people get to take a little bit of a hiatus from their regular responsibilities, but if they have the right systems and the right processes in place, getting to see their business continue to grow despite it being traditionally a little bit of a slow season for a lot of other cash physical therapists. So for July, for us, it is a heck of a good time. And so today, what we want to do to celebrate the launch of our brand new booked partnership program 4.0 is I wanted to bring a special guest into the community, because I know that there are many of you who are on the fence with going all in on your practice, or maybe you have been trying to get your practice off the ground for some time now, and you're finding it much more difficult to gain the momentum that you've wanted to have. And some of you are thinking about giving up. Some of you are starting to make up excuses as to why this works for other people and not you. And I wanted to bring Benji into this group, because not only has he become someone that we talk about often internally inside the clinical marketer company, but I wanted to bring him out here because he could have made a million excuses as to why going in the cash physical therapy route wasn't going to work. He could have made up reasons that there's just too much competition out there, that people aren't looking to invest in, premium cash physical therapy services. He could have said that it's too hard to get in front of potential referral sources to do organic workshops and to get people in the door. There's a million reasons that he could have made up to not be successful within his practice. But despite a lot of reasons that he could have made up, he continued to push forward. He put in the work. He believed in himself. And because of that, he went from 2 to 5 visits to now seeing 20-ish visits each and every week, where he has a little bit more flexibility. He has a little bit more time. Now he has momentum and more options to continue to grow and scale his practice. So I wanted to bring him out here to share his story with you, to show what's working, what's not working, share the good, the bad, and the ugly of getting a cash practice off the ground and filling your schedule. And hopefully some of you are going to walk away a little bit more inspired. You're going to walk away with a little bit of tips, something that you can implement to start turning the corner in your practice here today. So Benji, man, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy life to be here and to share your story with us.
Very welcome. Glad to be here.
Right on, man. So let's start this off from a little bit of just like context. Where were you before you started working with us, and what are things looking like now inside your practice?
Yeah, it was rough, man. So I started the book program technically end of December last year, but really started up in January, holidays and everything. But yeah, before that, I had been actually in practice for a while, for coming on 3 years, about 2.5 years. And I had not done any paid marketing or advertising up to that point. I was kind of one of those, like, I'm going to do this by the bootstraps and I'm going to figure it out. And I didn't, figure it out on my own. And, I had some ups and downs in the practice. There was some short-lived good moments, but overall it was like, I was at a place, honestly, where I was almost ready to give up, which is kind of sad to hear me say it, because like, I had a vision and there's a reason I got into it. But I had tried everything. And honestly, I was literally at a point where I was like, okay, before I give up, I have to at least try this clinical marketer thing, because I'd heard about you guys from several other PTs in my area in Colorado Springs, and they all swore by it. They're like, dude, this program's legit. Like, this and that, it works. This is how we're doing now. And I saw their success. And so I'm just like, okay, stubborn me finally was like, okay, but before I quit, I gotta at least check this box. And that's literally where I was at, because I was not paying the bills. I was having to do PR and work just to pay my bills, just to get by. And it was really, really stressful because it was so up and down. So that's where I was at. And now I honestly, every day, I'm just like pinching myself, can't believe where I'm at. Like, now on track for my 4th month in a row to hit what was my long-term revenue goal. For years, I hadn't hit it. I mean, I hit it once, I guess, but it was never consistent, right? Like last year, I literally look at my data, my statistics, financially, like I was averaging like 4K a month, just barely scraping by. And yeah, now on track to hit my 4th month in a row, 10K, over 10K a month. I hit like 11, 12 on a couple of these. I'm just like, I can't believe it. Honestly, it's been just an absolute game changer. So, like I said, so grateful for it, and happy to share. Just whoever's out there wants to know, like, should I do this? Like 100% yes, do it.
Love it, man. And I want to unpack that story because I think
Yeah,
a lot of people in this community can resonate with this. If you can relate with Benji, where you've been trying to get your practice off the ground and you're now at a place where you're wondering if this is even a viable option for you, where you're struggling to get the kind of income and patient flow that you need to just live and to feel comfortable in your own skin, drop me in the comments below because I think a lot of us have definitely been there. And if you're an entrepreneur and you haven't considered quitting at least once, I think there's something probably wrong with you. So you're definitely not alone there, man. I
for
know,
sure.
Lord knows I've been there. So
Yeah.
you've been at this before things really started to gain momentum and you started to find success. You were at this for 3 years. What sorts of things, like, tell us a little bit about your practice, who you serve, and
Yeah.
what those like initial years looked like. Like, what strategies were you implementing?
For sure. Yeah. So, loan practice, I mean, uh, do active adults, don't really necessarily niche in like a specific type of athlete or anything like that. But most of my business growth was like honestly community networking. That's where I spent the vast majority of my time. So I went to all the networking groups. I'm in BNI. A lot of people have heard of that one.
Oh, yeah.
Um, and I did some workshops. I tried to do social media, but the majority of my time was probably networking, like so organic, just like building relationships in the community.
Mm,
And honestly, like that's what kept me afloat. Like I got something, you know what I mean? It's what I did. The success I did have was due to that, but it just wasn't enough. You know, it was so inconsistent. And that part was super stressful because I never knew if there was a month if I was going to be able to if it was going to pay the bills or not. You know, it was just so wildly fluctuating. Um, and it was so time consuming. Honestly, that was I got to a point this is why I was going to give up because I was just like, man, I know that going the route I'm going, the only way to sustain this is to drive myself into the ground networking, spending so many hours. And personally, that type of stuff drains me.
yeah.
I don't find it fulfilling. It's really energy taxing to just constantly be meeting people and networking, and you're on 100% and you're schnoozing and all this, right? You have to be at your top A game when you're trying to network
Yeah.
and promote yourself. And I was burnt out with it. I was just tired of doing it. I was like, I can't do this. This is not sustainable. Um, so that was a big part of the reason I was like, man, if I like the idea of, having ads that actually bring in good leads sounded so great to me. I just never believed it. I've heard from so many marketers. I got so many pitches along my route. I'm like, I was networking, so I met a lot of local marketers and things like that. And maybe they were good, but I didn't have the faith to give them a try because I was just like, well, my budget is this small. I'm barely making by. I don't want to spend a bunch of money and not have anything come back. And so that's why I was so resistant to do it. Um, but yeah, freaking glad I did the booked program.
Yeah.
So
And so when you were doing that, when you were putting in all of the work, doing the boots on the ground stuff, getting workshops scheduled, um, like, did you go to anyone to teach you how to do that, or were you just going and knocking on doors, doing walk-ins, handing out
dude,
flyers?
honestly, I did a lot of cold calling, knocking on doors, cold showing up. Yeah, I was like, I think just too stubborn for my own good, kind of thing. I
Yeah,
definitely should have sought more mentorship. I mean, I read some books and whatever, and I watched some of the big names in the cash PT world, and read some of their books and stuff, and talked to some of the other PTs in my community, which was definitely helpful, right? But I never pursued any formal mentorship, right? Or
yeah, and
that
doing the organic stuff, like, that is an essential part of building a successful practice long term. You have to have those long term relationships to start
for
to
sure.
hedge your bets and make sure you have multiple channels. But as you said, it's like for a new practice owner, a new entrepreneur trying to get it off the ground, it can be hard to find that consistency and get that like foothold where you actually feel safe. You're not spending every night and
Yeah,
weekend doing the hustle. And so Facebook ads for many of you are absolutely the route that you should be going, just because it removes the politics from growth within your practice and you're able to gain that momentum. And for you, I know once you started running ads, you actually started having a lot of success with the organic side.
Well,
And
that's what I was gonna say is, like, yeah, I have no regrets, obviously, of the organic stuff I did.
yeah.
Like, it laid a good foundation, but I
Mhm.
saw that once I paired it with the book program and honestly, like, it wasn't just ads, like, I saw tremendous value and return before I even turned on ads at all. I started selling packages way better, converting way better, and I was already doing better before I even turned on a single ad. So, that alone, like, the value there was incredible, just to get that sales coaching and the mindset coaching to really fine tune that process. So definitely glad like I had that foundation, like I had those relationships and I had referrals coming to me, but now I'm converting them like at a way higher rate.
Right.
Um, and so that was really cool to see.
And what exactly, like, looking back on it now that you've developed all these new skills, you've built all these systems, like, can you pinpoint like one or two things that you were doing before working with us where you're like, yeah, that was a mistake?
Yeah, 100%. A lot of it honestly was mindset, which is crazy. Like, um, I had just some bad mindsets about sales and money and whatever. And going through the book program, like doing the modules and hearing other, cash PTs talk about their sales and everything and getting over that hump in my mind of like feeling bad about selling
Yeah.
was a big thing because I went back and forth on packages for a while before I joined booked. Like there was a while where I wasn't doing packages. Um and so just doing that and feeling good about it though, that was the thing. It was like, obviously we all know like you can't sell somebody on something you don't really believe in, right? And I
Right.
think that was the problem. And so I was able to essentially get over that mental hurdle. It was a silly barrier I was putting in my own head of feeling bad about doing packages. And I realized like going through the modules, like, no, I'm providing a ton of value to these people, and actually by selling them a package, I'm doing better by them.
Mhm.
The you know what I mean? And as
Makes
soon
a
as
lot.
that, like, clicked, it just, like and then combining that with, like, the weekly sales calls and the coaching, right?
Yeah.
Um, to just really fine tune that process, it was like, wow, like, 'cause I followed my convictions, and, like, once I was behind that truly, like, it started to show because I was selling them like crazy?
That's one of
So
the
that
things
yeah.
That's one of the things that I think is just so invaluable and fascinating about coaching programs and mastermind programs, because a lot of it shows just how much of our growth is limited by our own beliefs. And that sounds like woo woo and just like a lot of people kind of like scoff at stuff like that. But the reality is, it's like we see it so consistently that when someone who's been struggling starts surrounding themselves with other people who are a little bit further ahead that have been through what they've been through without
Yeah.
changing any strategies, without changing any systems, they start doing better
Mhm.
just because they have that increased belief that they can actually do it.
Mhm.
It's that proximity is something that is just wild. Um,
It's true. Yeah.
So aside from the newfound like belief in yourself and in the value of your services, were there any other things that you felt like you were making a mistake on that if you could go back or tell some of the people who are probably listening to this who are in that same kind of pocket, any advice for them?
Mm. Um, let's see. I mean, I was just honestly shooting myself in the foot, um, in sales because, yeah, I don't know, just that was my biggest mistake was that I didn't yeah,
Anything like with how you were conducting sales or how you were structuring your packages or how you talked about those? Anything in there change?
totally. I mean, I think, like, I I very softly sold packages. I would
Yeah.
just be like, "Oh, I do these packages, but, like, whatever, you can, instead
Mhm.
of, like and I've learned literally every single Friday on AJ's sales calls, I learned, like, a gold mine some little
Yeah.
gold nugget where I'm just like and I go and apply it, and it's game changing, so I should keep a list of, like, all the things I've learned, but literally every single week, I was just
Mhm.
like, "That, I'm gonna apply it." But one of them would be, like, when you're selling something to someone, one, obviously, once the conviction is there, you have
Mhm.
to you have to deliver it with conviction. and I wasn't good at that. Just in my tonality, in my body language, and how I phrased it. And so just something nuanced as nuanced as that, just like
Yeah.
the way my communication skills, really, right? And
Yeah.
same thing with the discovery calls. Oh my gosh. The script, game changer. So
Mm. Yeah.
I changed from doing, I used to do like discovery in-person visits,
Mm.
but they would be very kind of clinical, so it would turn into like a half a vowel, and that'd always be tough.
Mhm. Mm.
And then I didn't have any sales elements in it. It would just be like purely, oh yeah, I could help you with this kind of thing, and it's like, well,
Right.
like,
Right. People want to be told what to do.
well, yeah,
We make
exactly. They
enough
want to,
decisions in
yeah,
our
they
life.
hear
We
that
want someone to just tell us,
confidence.
here's what you got to do.
Yeah, it's like, I'm the professional, this is what you got going on, this is what you need kind of thing, right? And
Mhm.
delivering it like confidently, right? And
Right.
so that sales script was absolute game changer. I mean, again, I started getting, not only converting packages, I should have mentioned like when leads call me, like, or referrals from the community,
Yeah.
like by doing that, applying that sales script and using it for them as well, I was setting them up for the eval to be that much more successful. And I was a higher rate of getting them to come in because
Oh,
I was asking the right questions now, and I was actively listening for the right things, and guiding, steering the conversation in the right way, just being so much more intentional about it. Before I was just like, you know, just kind of off the cuff, just like, I'm a PT. What do you got going on?
that's
Like,
right. I love it. So, anyone who's listening here, if you could throw in the comments, these are the notes that I'd want everyone to write down based off of Benji's takeaways here. Number one, it's one, you got to believe in what it is that you're selling, and that selling your services and selling your packages is actually a service. You're not taking anything from anyone. It is your moral obligation, because you have the ability to help them solve their problem, for you to tell them how to solve their problem.
yeah,
Because many of you are just making it too easy for people to say no. And they're not getting the help that they need. They're ended up getting surgeries, they're going on medications, or they're going somewhere where they're just going to come in for an adjustment every week for the rest of their lives. Right. And so we have a moral obligation to believe in ourselves and to make the right recommendation. And when you make that recommendation, number two, make sure that you are saying it with conviction. You're not just kind of, nice person selling. We're just like, yeah, I could help you with this. Tell them what they need, prescribe what exactly it is that they need, and do it with confidence. So those seem like the two biggest takeaways so far?
probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
And
reminded me of one of the modules you did too, where it's like your pre-discovery call mindset. I forgot what the
oh
5 were,
yeah,
but one
yep.
of them was like, you don't need them, they need you. Like, just remind yourself of that, and literally just do what's best for them. Like, tell them like what is the absolute best thing they need, and just tell them that with conviction. And like that made that like statement alone just like flipped a switch in my brain, right? I was like, wow, yeah, like that. I can stand behind that all freaking day because I'm doing best by this person, right? And I
Right.
need to truly believe that.
That's
um
right. All
yeah,
we can do is give them our absolute best expert opinion, come from the heart that we're genuinely trying to help this person. I think everyone here is a good person, so you can have conviction when you're saying that thing. And
yeah,
then if they don't want it, then let the cards fall where they may, because you did your best, you did right by that person. It's up to them to make the call. Shouldn't affect you at all.
yeah, yeah,
Love that, dude. And something that you mentioned was, once you started the book partnership program and you started using our sales systems, and you did start doing a little bit with ads, well, how did that kind of impact your local marketing? Because I know that right out of the gate, you were selling package after package, and you're having a lot of success with the organic side of stuff as
mhm.
you were learning this stuff. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, like how I was converting those local
Yeah,
referrals.
totally.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it was just I, I started converting I sold so many packages before I even turned on ads. I mean, I was just, yeah, it was because of the sales process, the discovery call script,
Yeah.
the eval process, um, my conviction, how I'm saying things.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of that.
Where were those referrals coming from?
It was a mix. So I've done a ton of networking, man. Like I
Yeah.
said, that's what I did for 3 years. So it's just like I've met chiropractors, I've met massage therapists, I've met personal trainers.
Yeah.
I'm in this BNI group where you connect with like a variety of all different types of professionals. So they come from all over the place. Um,
Right.
yeah, but now I was doing just a way better job of yeah, I could if I could share a quick story there.
We got yeah, go ahead, please.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Because this was kind of I felt like I was primed for this program in a way too, because there was like 2 patients at the end of last year, I remember, who came in and saw me for an eval,
Yeah,
didn't convert even though I knew I could help them.
yeah,
And looking back on it, I was very nonchalant about the sale. I was like, "Yeah, I could help you," but I didn't deliver it with conviction. Even though in my head I was convicted, I didn't communicate that to them.
right,
And so they went somewhere else. And they went places where I feel confident I can confidently say that they're not getting the care I could have provided them. And I lost those patients. I did them literally, I was like, I did them a disservice because I didn't communicate them with conviction that this is the best option for them. And so
yeah,
like that, yeah, that just really set me up to be like, I need to change something because it's not like I'm helping these people by being nice or being whatever, loosey
right,
goosey about it. I'm actually did them a disservice. So
right.
yeah,
And
that
so
changed.
you've obviously changed your own mindset around like your own services, but has any of this changed your perception or like belief around like sales and changed your relationship with selling?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've always felt uncomfortable with sales, but when I switched it on its head to like I was saying, the narrative of like just
Yeah,
do best by the person and then deliver it confidently. Like it's literally that simple. And for some reason, when I tell myself that in my head, yeah, I don't feel bad about it. Like, yeah, I would feel bad about selling something I don't believe in, but we all should, right? Like I would hope,
right,
you know what I
right,
mean? Or that being that quote unquote sleazy salesman who's just selling whatever, snake oil or
right.
whatever, but if that conviction is there, like 100%, like, yeah, it completely changed my mindset about that. And so I don't feel bad about saying, yeah, I'm going to sell you, like, and not feel bad about it because I just view it differently.
Coming from the right place.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
We got a question from Jerry Vala on YouTube. What's up, Jerry? He asked if patients have to sign a contract when they sign up for a package. You want to talk to that a little bit? Got any?
I don't do a contract.
Yeah,
No, no. This is one of the biggest things I think on sales is that like when you do a really good job at building value, you don't have to like force it. Like,
right.
a lot of like kind of old school or whatever sales tactics is like these ways to trick people and manipulate people and
Mhm.
whatever, phrase it this way. And it's like some of those things can be effective, sure, but like I found that like that's kind of playing it on the back end. Like how can you get at like the drive it from a good place,
Right.
like like play offense instead of defense, I guess, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
Is like building value. And so what I found is that when I do a really good job, like asking the right questions, building rapport with a person, actually listening to them,
Mm,
and then convincing them that like, yeah, I've got something really good for you that I think is gonna like literally change your life.
yeah.
Like, and they see that conviction, like there's they don't want a contract. And the same thing goes for no shows. Like that was something I know comes up questions a lot, like, "Oh, how do we get less no-shows?" And of course,
Yeah.
there's system stuff I think that's good to try to like, I thought about doing a $10 deposit or, like, take
Mm,
down a
mm,
card. I just never felt good about that. From a personal side, I don't have anything
yeah.
against it, but just for me, it didn't sit right. But when I just improved my process of building that value, no-shows decrease, right? Like,
Mm,
people just they see the value. So, yeah, that's how I would say about, like, contracts, same thing. It's like, they don't need a contract because they're already sold on it, they're committed, and you're gonna show them the results every step of the way. As long as you do that and that you're committed to the process with them, like, they're not gonna that's how I feel about it.
right. That's kind of like the bummer because everyone has been sold so much snake oil and they've been disappointed so many times that they now believe that sales is about gimmicks and about trickery and about
Right.
manipulation when the reality is what sales is supposed to be. And when it's way easier, by the way, is
Yeah.
when you're selling from the heart and you're just
Yep.
authentically trying to help people
Right.
and presenting with confidence and believing in your own self. When you
Yeah.
can lay out the options, be genuine and authentic in your will to help them, and just
Mhm.
believe in yourself. It's crazy how people just want to give you
Oh,
money
yeah.
and they want to
Oh,
be
yeah.
around you. They want to work with you more. You don't have
Totally.
to convince them. They
Totally.
convince themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. That's
Yeah.
exactly it. Yeah.
So, yeah, Jerry, just to put a bow on that, you don't need to sign contracts to sell a cash package. If depending on what state you are, if they are like a Medicare, patient. Sometimes you do want to have them sign something to let them know that they are waiving their Medicare to pay cash, and they're doing so willfully. That's the only time that a contract or some sort of a service agreement might come into play. But Benji, so once you started running the ads, talk us through what that experience was actually like. So you'd never done it before. You always thought it was kind of like probably not going to work. Tell us your
Yeah,
experience with ads right right
for
out of the gate.
sure. I mean, the program, there's no way I could have done that on my own. Let me just put it that way. Like, because everyone thinks that, like, oh, maybe I can, like, and just looking at what I learned in the program, it would have taken me freaking years. And even then, I probably still wouldn't have done as good of a job because between the creatives, the copy, the headlines, and then learning what metrics to track, how to adjust them, like all those little things we learn every week on the calls, like, yeah, it was so there was a learning curve for sure. It's like,
No.
you started off but you got to learn how to adjust it. And,
Mhm.
Chris's like famous quote is like, test it, right? Test, right? And like,
Yeah.
you have to test it, right? And see but you learn what you're looking for and what you're testing, why you're testing, right? And you learn the methodology and the reasoning.
Mm.
And so, yeah, there was a little fine tuning. I will say, you saying that could give away value, but like the shoulder ad, like, oh my gosh, it was like plug and play. You guys like fine tuned the crap out of that
Oh
one.
yeah.
It's just like
Shoulder's good.
literally, I've been running it now since, I don't know, 3-4 months. I haven't changed a single thing on it. I didn't change copy, and some people do have to, right? But for me, for some reason, I haven't changed a single creative or copy. It's still running and it still brings in regular leads. The lower back one was a little bit of a struggle, but that
Mm.
one's has its own challenges related to, like, there's a lot of chiropractors and stuff going for
Mhm.
that population. So that one has taken some fine tuning, but it's picking up steam. And again, I've learned what to look for and what to tweak when I need to tweak it. So that's been it truly, everyone always says it's like the dial, right? You can turn it up, turn it down. And I never believed that. I was like, that sounds too good to be true.
Right.
Right?
And for
But it
most
really,
people, it actually is. I will say, like
yeah,
most marketers don't know what the hell they're doing. They watch the course and they learned how to talk about it, but they don't know how to actually do it. We put
right.
11 years into this. Okay, it took a long time to turn that faucet into
Yes, but
something
you
that
have
like
it so fine tuned where it's just like, oh yeah, I just need to adjust this variable and I can turn it up, dial it down. And yeah, it's really cool, man. I love it because my schedule starts to slow down a little bit, I just dial it up a touch. When I get busy, I dial it down a touch, and it's great.
So how specifically has the Facebook ads impacted the practice itself? Like how much of the growth that you've experienced? I know you're doing really good with the
Yeah,
organic side and on
for
the
sure.
sales side, but how much has the Facebook ad played into your now like 5-figure consistent months?
Yeah, yeah. Maybe around half at this point. There was some ramping up, right? So initially it wasn't as much, but it's getting to be more and more of a ratio, higher ratio. So I would guesstimate right now about half of my patients are probably from Facebook ads, which is really cool. I think that's awesome, because yeah, again, my ad spend doesn't have to be super high too, because thankfully I have those local referrals still coming in.
Mhm.
But yeah, and it's getting better, right? Like I'm still learning and I'm still improving that process.
Right. Right. Now it's time to scale.
That's
So So one of the things that because you've been in our world, online when we're running ads, we got to talk about revenue because that's what people pay
yeah,
attention
yeah,
to. But you know us well enough to know that it's like what we really care about is impact. And as you're growing and scaling your life, is your life actually getting better? Because there's
dude.
so many people out there that are flexing these high revenue numbers, but they're not. Their life is miserable. All they do is work. They're not making a profit. They're not making more money as a result.
Dude,
That's
it's
the
way
last right.
yeah. Was that gonna be your question? I'm
That's
jumping in.
gonna be my question. Like, how has your life been impacted by this now that 50% of your cash flow is coming from not boots on the ground, like hustle?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like, so there's still a time investment, like, in the ads a little bit, in terms of watching them and doing the discovery calls and things like that, but it's way less, and I find it personally incredibly less draining than going to, like, this random networking meeting for 2 hours with a bunch of strangers, and, like, you don't know what's gonna happen from that, and
Yep.
doing that on a like this, it's like I can measure it. I know exactly what I'm gonna get out of it, and when I put an hour in, I have metrics to see, like, how many leads I'm gonna get out of it, how many evals I'm probably gonna get out of it. Like, and that's so yeah, my quality of life is way better, not to mention the fact that I was about to fold up my practice and go back to full-time work. Like, I mean, my life is I'm just thrilled. And yeah, I do. I'm doing the thing, man. This is where I wanted to be for so long, and I'm just so happy. And I don't need to do PRN work. I'm actually paying the bills. I'm comfortable, and for the first time ever, I'm now considering, do I want to take it to the next level? So still trying to figure that out, but it's exciting that I can even consider that, because that I was just like that wasn't even on my radar for forever. I was like, I'm not even going to think about growing and scaling and hiring. So for the first time now, I'm thinking about that. So that's exciting.
I gotta say, man, like you've come such a long way in such a short amount of time. And like I refuse, and the entire clinical marketer team refuses to take any credit for the hard work that you put in. All we did was help you just be more efficient with like the skills and the things that you already had within you. So I just want to
You guys should take some of the credit, a good chunk of the credit,
oh
honestly.
man, you're incredible. We've taken people through this program, and all they do is like make excuses, and they don't put in the work. They don't show up to the calls. They don't ask the questions. They don't do the things that they say they're going to do. And you show up and you do the hardest work of all, which is working on like what you believe is actually possible for you. Because once you change that, everything else becomes easy. And that is the hardest part of all of this
That is
stuff.
true. Yeah.
And you crushed it, man. And
Thank
I
you.
just want to say, like, I'm really proud and I'm really grateful for the opportunity to get to watch you develop and build this thing and impact the lives of people around you. Because you're great at what you do, and the people around you deserve to know about it. And I'm excited for you.
Appreciate that.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, what's next for you? What's the goal for 2024?
For this year, well, I'm getting married in September, so a little busy with that.
Let's
Right
go!
now.
Congrats, man.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's an international wedding, so it's a little more involved. We're gonna honeymoon over in Europe and stuff too, and so yeah, so that's exciting. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I want to, obviously, I feel like there's a little more fine tuning and like maintaining this flow. Like I'm still, there's little things, like I've got the big things in place. I feel like I want to fine tune even more my process and like tracking numbers and just like really, really nailing it down and then starting to plan for the future. So like I said, for first time ever, I'm starting to consider like, do I want to scale? Do I want to grow? Do I want to hire? I think I do. It's just a matter of like when. And kind of planning for it financially too, like because like I want to get into a bigger space and things like that. And so like I've already met with a commercial realtor and just like, what are the options here? I met with my financial advisor and accountant and just starting to think like, okay, roadmap, like if I want to go there, what are the things I need in place?
Yeah.
So that's exciting, like I said, to think about. But in the meanwhile, I think just kind of really fine tuning my processes here where I'm at, and hopefully saving a little bit of money in the business to like prepare me for that next step too. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking for this year.
I'm excited for it, man. And I think it's the right decision because you want to get comfortable and develop that new financial baseline and get used to where you're at. Because once you start to get comfortable and you fine tune things, then you'll start to decide for yourself. It's like, is this something that I want to continue to do this process over and over again? Or is it time to start to scale and build this thing beyond myself? And that's totally an internal journey that everyone has to go on at their own pace. And so all in good time, man. Obviously, if there's ever anything I can do, you reach out and I'm happy to discuss it. But I just want to thank you again so much for being here today and being willing to share your story with us.
Yeah, very welcome. Thanks for having me. And I appreciate you guys.
Of course, man. So to finalize this call here, so everyone who's listening, we are running the biggest promo we've ever ran to celebrate the launch of the Book Partnership Program 4.0, which is the most streamlined and sophisticated program we've ever created, where instead of working with us for 90 days, we're going to work together for 180 days, and you can save up to $2,500 on your investment with working with us with twice the amount of time. And instead of having to set up all of your ads yourself and all the systems yourself, we're going to set it all up for you so that you can get your ads running faster, so you can start getting cash flow in the door sooner, so we can start organizing and structuring the rest of your systems so that you can get to your income goal and your impact goal faster than it's ever been possible. So right now it's never been a better time to jump into the book partnership program. If you're interested in just having a conversation with us, just put booked in the comments and we'll circle back with you. And remember, you're not saying yes, you're just exploring a possibility where we'll jump on a call, we'll go through where you're at, where you're trying to go, and then what it might look like for us to work together. And if not, that's totally cool. We'll let you know, and then we'll send you on your way with some new training, some free resources on things that we know will help move the needle for you based on where you're at. Now, Benji, when you went through Booked, it was Booked 3.0. At the time, it was the greatest program we've ever created. During that time, the people who joined us with Booked 3.0, who's been with us for over a year, have added on average over $100,000 just from their Facebook ads and grew at least by $27,000 a month on average, who have implemented these systems for over a year straight. And so Booked 3.0 was pretty incredible. But Booked 4.0, we're dialing things up a little bit. I'm curious what you think of how that sounded compared to what you went through.
Yeah, that's the done for you stuff sounds pretty cool. Because that is a lot of the work. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I guess there's some value in like kind of, again, for me, I was ready to get down in the dirt and be like, what do I need to do? But like it did. Yeah, it took some learning and some trial and error, and like I said, I really appreciated, for example, the shoulder ad, the fact that I didn't have to tinker with that thing at all. And it was like literally like plug and play for me. So like plug and play, like who wouldn't want that? You know what I mean? That does sound cool.
Right. Because what we found is, our guarantee is that you'll make $30,000 in 90 days. And the setup process, although we agree, like we've always said that you need to set it up yourself so that you learn how to do it and you appreciate the skill of being able to do it. But depending on varying tech abilities, some people take a little bit too long. So we're taking that off of people's plate. We're setting them up for them, and then reverse engineering them and teaching them how to do it as they have cash flow coming in. So that's the game plan moving forward.
Awesome. Nice. Yeah, that makes sense.
Cool. Awesome, everybody. Jerry, Ben, Sheila, thanks for being here, everybody. If you have any questions about Booked or any questions specifically for Benji and his experience and grinding and getting his practice off the ground over the span of 3 years to now finally having the practice where he has a full schedule, he's paying the bills, he's taking care of himself, and now he's exploring opportunities that he didn't think would be possible for him just a few months ago. And if you have any questions for him or myself, drop them in the comments. We'd love to circle back, answer any of your questions, and of course, share any resources that we might have that can help you see a brighter future for you in your cash physical therapy career. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. If you were here live, comment live. If you're catching the replay, comment replay. And again, if you're interested in the book partnership program and the promo we have going on that ends this Thursday, put Booked inside of the comments and we will follow up with you. Thanks, everybody.